Ever since season 3 of The Walking Dead, when the survivors occupy a prison, it has been on almost all top 10 places to survive the zombie apocalypse type of videos, like in The Richest, Real Life Lore, or American Eye. I mean, at first glance, it kinda makes sense. They are built to keep people in, so it also doubles in keeping people and zombies out. So today I want to dive deep and see just how good prisons are when it comes to surviving a zombie apocalypse. This is Zombie Survival Labs. Prison is one of those places that nobody wants to go in their life. Unless it's a zombie apocalypse, then everybody and their second cousin wants to go to the nearest maximum security prison and make that their new home. Except me though, cause I ain't ever going back. But a lot of you believe it's a good place to survive in a zombie apocalypse. So since you guys keep suggesting it and I've actually been to prison, I want to look at the pros and cons of surviving in a prison during a zombie apocalypse. Because preparing for a zombie apocalypse shares the same guidelines as preparing for any other realistic apocalypse scenario, like the solar grid shutting down or a complete economic collapse. But before we look into prisons, we need to set some ground rules. Since I've been to prison, I'm going to be basing this list off my personal experience of the prison I was at, which is a level 3 maximum security prison known as Lorraine Correctional Institution. I'll also be basing this list off of the Walking Dead type of zombies. So no superpowered wall climbing mutant zombies. Just good old super slow decaying, slow jogging pace, somewhat realistic zombies. Plus I get to use a lot of the Walking Dead season 3 and season 4 footage. So spoiler alert for something that's almost 5 years old, I guess. Let's jump into it. What are some of the pros and cons to surviving in a prison during a zombie apocalypse? One of the biggest reasons that you see prisons in zombie survival guide videos is because they're easily defendable. Oh wow, look at those walls. Dang, T-Dog, you see them double barbed wire fences? Yay! Glenn, check out that guard tower right there, but no funny business with Maggie.
What?
It's no surprise that Rick and the gang felt like they struck a gold mine when finding this place. You got guard towers overlooking the perimeter, reinforced steel barred windows, solid metal doors, and strong concrete walls. Literally no one is taking this place from you. Unless they have a tank, then they just might take it from you. But aside from that, prison's already built with the structured security and defenses that you'd be building somewhere else anyway. And since it's already right there, this is a huge benefit. Another benefit is that you have a buttload of space. Prisons are meant to house a large amount of inmates. At the prison I was at, it was about 1,200 of them. So needless to say, that's pretty big. I mean, look at all that land to grow crops on. Hello, can anyone say Farming Simulator 2019 Prison Edition featuring Herschel Green? With so much space to work with, the possibilities are endless. And that's just the outside. You have about 600 empty inmate cells, a chow hall, library, a freaking auto shop. There's so much space in a prison that you could store decades worth of food and water and other resources and still have room to play with. But not only is there a ton of space to work with, there's also a ton of resources at your fingertips. Like we've established before, prisons house thousands of inmates, meaning that there's food to feed those thousands of inmates. Not good food. I mean, the bags say not for human consumption on it, but it's food nonetheless. Prisons also have their own infirmary, so you have meds and medical supplies as well. You got thousands of prison mats. I mean, they suck, but they're beds at least. And you got the commissary store where inmates can actually buy real food, which is also where you get the whole shebang chips at. Chips so good that you'll go to prison for them because they only have them in prison and their website. I'm not sponsored by them, but I did impulse buy a whole bag of them, which probably wasn't the healthiest thing I've done in a while. With all those defenses and open space and resources, people might try and take the prison from you. But you'll easily be able to spot them because prisons have a great vantage point. Most prisons, especially Lorraine, have open fields around them to easily catch escaping inmates, and to catch people that might be throwing drugs over the fences or any other type of suspicious acts. So having that vantage point is a huge benefit, especially in a situation like this. So this is going to give you plenty of time to spot any oncoming threats that might be coming your way. To deal with this, you also have the prison's armory to be able to take care of these problems. I'm talking semi-automatic rifles, riot gear, fox spray, aka ghost peppers in your eyes. So maybe Rick had the right idea, maybe prisons are a smart idea. But what are the cons to surviving in a prison? Because it can't just be all rainbows and sunshine. Well, the cons list for this video is going to be a little bit different. I know how much people fanboy over prison, so when I made this video, I had to anticipate the comments a little bit more than usual. So allow me to take you on a journey and tell you what would happen to prisons in a zombie apocalypse. And also the cons. The virus has caught the attention of the media. People are panicking, the government is fully involved. Martial law has just gone into full effect. Meaning, no more guards at the prison. At this point, you might be thinking, well, what happens to the inmates? Do the guards let them out? The answer is no. The government actually has a plan with inmates when it comes to martial law. Under the U.S. Justice Department Code, a military task force team will be sent into the prison, and all inmates with 10 years or less will either be released or drafted into the military service at the local officer's discretion. If this happened while I was in prison, I likely would have been drafted into the military because my crime was a felonious assault. But someone with a possession charge or a felony DUI would likely end up being released. Sentences over 10 years may be confined indefinitely or put to physical labor as required by martial authorities. And inmates with life sentences or inmates on death row will have their sentences carried out via firing squad. And no joke, that's actually in the U.S. Justice Department Code. So from here, two things will happen. Either the military is taking over the prison as a base of operations at this point, or they are taking all the inmates being drafted and all the inmates being sentenced to physical labor and extracting all of the food and resources out of there with them. Neither of these options are good in a zombie apocalypse. This means that the prison is either being occupied by the military, meaning you're not taking it over, or you can knock off resources in the armory off the pros list because they're not leaving that behind. Okay, so whatever, the military takes all the resources in armory. You still have an easily defendable place with a ton of space and a great vantage point. Unfortunately, the cons don't stop there. Most prisons today have been updated because of security protocol. It's not like TV shows like The Walking Dead make it out to be when it comes to getting into the prison. Most doors are opened electronically via computers, keycard readers, and flip switches. So the only way you're getting through those doors is by welding or some type of fabrication or through brute force. But yes, by turning on the electricity, you will be able to open up the doors, not from the outside though. Prison doors were meant to withstand prison riots, meaning it can't be done through lockpicking or sheer human strength. Once the power goes out, the prison goes into lockout mode as a security protocol, which makes it a pretty big con. A pro that we talked about earlier is also a con as well though. The prison I was at, for example, is 1,845,245 feet squared. To walk from one side of the prison to the other side of the prison took around 12 minutes on average. That's a lot of ground to cover and a lot of space to protect. All this space creates a lot of blind spots when defending the perimeter, and it's a big reason that prisons have been adding more security cameras to the outside as well as watchtowers to make sure no one's trying to escape. And that's just because of how many blind spots there are in a prison. And we're just talking about the outside. This con really depends on your group size though. I mostly hear people saying it's best to stay in a small group between 4 and 10 people, which isn't nearly enough people to properly keep a prison secure. A more ideal group size would be about 50 people, but even that's pushing it. That also introduces a whole bunch of other issues, which is unrelated to the prison itself, so I'm not going to include any of the issues with a large group in this video. Another con that's questionable but still should be mentioned is the fact that prisons are hotspots. Hotspots are places that the common public not only know about, but may seek out in an apocalyptic event. To get a perspective on this, hotspots are places like malls, hospitals, stores, basically any place that has an abundance of resources that the common public are aware of. Ever since The Walking Dead took off and got millions upon millions of viewers watching their show, prisons have kind of got themselves on that hotspot list, meaning that you're going to have a higher chance of some unwanted visitors knocking at your door. Prisons might not have completely gotten themselves on that list, but it's close enough to be a con on this list. So now that we have the pros and the cons to surviving in a prison, I believe we have enough information to talk about how good it is in a zombie apocalypse. If I could rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a horrible idea, 4 being short-term survival, 7 being long-term survival, and 10 being indefinite long-term survival, I'd say that it depends. If the military has taken over the prison as a base of operations, you can put that down to a 1. I mean, let's be realistic, they're not going to be very kind to strangers walking up to the walls, and you're not taking them on, you're not Rambo. But say it's been a while and they've abandoned it, or that they've extracted all the inmates and resources out of there and left. Then it's probably a 3, maybe a 4. The amount of work and resources just to get inside of the prison is going to be extremely difficult in of itself, but then to have to defend it would be even more difficult. But then again, this comes down to your group size. So a small group is a 3 or a 4, but a large group, one that's large enough to secure the place, delegate jobs like farming and resource gathering, you could easily push that score up to a 7, maybe even a 10. I say maybe still because it's still a hotspot. But if the military is there or you have a small group, you got better options out there. But what do you guys think? Did I miss any pros or cons? Let me know in the comment section, as well as other places I should talk about in future videos. I also want to say that because I've been to prison, I don't think I'm some kind of prison expert. I just actually have a little bit of experience and been inside of a prison, so my insight can be a little bit more of help to some people. Also, you should join my Discord server because the members actually voted on this episode. So if you want to join the conversation, talk about some zombies, head on down into the description box for a link to my Discord server. You can also find other places and things I've talked about before, like my rooftop video and my boat video, down in the description below. So subscribe for more videos. My name is Tyler, and I will see you guys later.
Damn, nigga, what you doing out here with all this ass? Double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon, hella ass, the sun is still out, my nigga.